Hey, I'm Ruth Rigby, and I'm a member of Broadmoor Baptist Church, and I'm a person who is in long-term recovery. My sobriety date is March 1 of 1997, and I'm really excited about what we're doing here at Broadmoor for specifically this series that Josh is leading us through. Because as a person who has been broken and healed, and the transformation that I went through getting into recovery, I know that there are a lot of people out there that are suffering. And I think this series will help you. I can remember when we got the email out of what are some things that you want to see Josh preach on Sundays. And I was one of those people that I wanted to hear more about trauma, and I wanted to hear more about mental health challenges and, of course, substance abuse, because we know that there are a lot of people suffering right now, and we want them to know the help that they can receive, certainly from here at Broadmoor and at our Center for Hope and Healing at Broadmoor and in our community. We are running to the hurting, and we want you to know that we're here for you. I did not get into recovery the easy way. I got into recovery the hard way. I grew up with a parent who was an alcoholic. I can remember when I was 6 years old, I would go to the store with my dad, and I would pick out Welch's grape juice, and I would come home, pour out her wine, and replace it with grape juice, because I knew when she drank out of that bottle, she became a totally different person. And I grew up with an absentee mom, but my dad was the force in my young life at that time who made sure that I had a home church, I had a home group, and I grew up in First Baptist Jackson, and I was very active in activities there. And then I moved my membership to Broadmoor after college, and so those are the good things that I always knew, that I had a place of safety when I walked through the door at the church. And there were pivotal moments when I was a kid. I was active in choir. I was active in the youth groups. And those truly were my lifelines. And I want to tell you about another lifeline I had. It was my first grade teacher, and that was Ann Caves, who was also a member of Broadmoor Baptist Church. She knew the kind of life that I was growing up in with an alcoholic mom, because I told her at a very, very young age when I was 6. And she always made sure that she spoke to me every time I saw her. She helped me know that I was worthy of love. And she was just a pivotal role when I was a child growing up. So those are some little things that helped lead me to my faith walk. And, I grew up here in Jackson. I'm a native Jacksonian. I'm now a Cantonite, I think, because I live up in Canton. But I did not get into recovery the easy way. Like I said earlier, I got into the hard way. I grew up saying I would never become an alcoholic because I had an alcoholic parent. One of the pivotal moments was when I turned 18. We came together as a family to be sure that my mother got the help that she needed. We intervened on her, and I watched my mom go through an incredible change of redemption and healing. And she was able to get the help that she needs. And she had 25 years of sobriety up until the day that she died. And so that was a pretty life-changing event for us and our family. My mother was a person that I despised, but after this transformation happened with her, she became my hero. And the greatest gift that I could ever give to my mom was being her caregiver and taking care of her up until the day that she passed away. And I was, what's changed the course of my life was when I was brutally attacked at a gas station out off of County Line Road on Watkins Boulevard in Northwest Jackson. I had stopped to get gas there, and I did not realize they were dealing drugs there. I was just stopping to get gas because I was out of gas. And that's when my life changed forever. That's when God changed the trajectory of my life by being brutally attacked. And some people say, oh my God, Ruth Ann, I cannot believe that happened to you. But it was a pivotal moment in my transformation of my life and doing what God has called me to do, and that's serve. And in a period of, and I was newly married. I'm married to the love of my life, Jody Rigby, and he is a retired colonel from the Highway Patrol. And I knew the minute I met him that I was actually going to marry him, because he was in a pasture out on my family's farm. He was struggling with a pony. I stopped my car. I went and helped him with the pony, and I introduced myself, and I came back and told my mom rather. I called her on the phone. That's when we had really big cell phones. Some of you may not remember those big cell phones. And I called my mom and said, I've met the man I'm going to marry one day, and he truly is the love of my life. And it's only by God's grace that we are still a married couple, because when you go through the trauma that I went through from being attacked, and at that gas station that night, no one would help me. No one would help me. And we had only been married for probably 4 to 6 months. And finally, I was able to go inside, break away and go inside, and I was able to call my husband, and he and some of his men who are troopers, they came and helped me. But from that very moment, remember, I said I grew up with a parent who's an alcoholic. That's when the switch flipped for me, because I was struggling with night terrors, night sweats, flashbacks, all of those things. And the only thing I knew to do was go to the doctor. And so, like a person who's sick, we go to the doctor. We tell the physician, what are our symptoms, and they treat our symptoms. Well, I became very good at detailing the symptoms that I was struggling with, and they would medicate me. And so I would go see my physician 3 or 4 times a week. And on Fridays, I would go at 3 o'clock, and I would get shot up. He would give me medicine for the weekend. And the very last time, the straw that broke the camel's back was he gave me that prescription. And I usually had 15 minutes I could drive home from the time he gave me a shot in the office until I got home, and I would go and lay down and go to sleep. I decided to go get my prescription filled that day, and I went to the pharmacy, and I passed out in the pharmacy, and they had to call my husband, and he sent his men to pick me up. And that's pretty humiliating. But again, I was a broken, sick person who struggled with a lot of trauma, and we did not know about trauma back in 1997 what we know about trauma today. And you've heard Josh speak about that over the last couple of Sundays, and also Dr. Preston Crow. But my night terrors were horrific. And so my husband did the only thing he knew to do, and that was talk to his colleagues, and who were troopers and also agents with the Bureau of Narcotics. And they said, if you want to help her, get her some help. If not, she'll be dead. Just go by our cemetery plot. And so in a period of time from the day that I was attacked until the day I entered treatment, I was a shell of a person. I probably weighed 90 pounds. And my husband did the only thing he knew to do was to help me get to an evaluation center. Well, I manipulated my way out of the evaluation. They said, Miss Rigby, you don't have a problem. You just go live your life and do what you need to. Well, that's how good of a manipulator I am, because the disease of addiction is cunning, baffling, and powerful. And it was running my life, and it was running rampant on my life. And so when I got out of the evaluation, about 1 week, I went right down the rabbit hole again. And my husband decided to go a different route. And he'd partnered with the people that worked for the governor's office. And I was fast-tracked to Whitfield, which is the state hospital out in Rankin County. And at that time, they had a great women's center there. There were 35 women in treatment with me. But I had to be court-ordered, and I'm a huge advocate for court orders. Anybody in the state of Mississippi can be court-ordered to treatment. So I'm sure there's some people that have a lot of questions about court orders, and we have a lot of people that can answer those questions. But a court order saved my life. I was in treatment at Whitfield for about 6 months. While I was in treatment, I was probably in detox for almost 3 weeks, and I was in a blackout in treatment. And when I came to, I was like, oh my Lord, where in the world am I? I'm at a locked facility. I can't get out, and I don't remember how I got there. And so I said, I need to use the phone. I need to call my attorney. I need to get up out of here. And so the staff notified my husband that I have come to, and oh, by the way, she's going to leave treatment. Well, again, we had only been married 6 months, and he said, if she leaves, I will divorce her. And again, this was the man that with the love of my life, he set a very strong boundary for me, and I had to adhere to it if I was going to have a life with him. And so Sandy, my counselor, asked me, what did I bring to treatment? And the good little Baptist girl that I was and is, I brought my Bible. And she said, I want you to go upstairs, and I want you to put your Bible under your bed. And when you get on your knees to reach for your Bible under your bed, I want you to pray for acceptance and surrender. And it talks about acceptance and surrender in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And what a lot of people don't understand is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous comes from the Beatitudes in the Bible. And so that's why you see a lot of 12-step fellowship programs, AA, NA, and other programs that host meetings in churches because of that very reason, because you feel safe. I feel safe in a church. I feel safe in my church. And that's when my life forever changed. When I hit my knees, and I'd never hit my knees before, it was, I just didn't. And when I did, my life changed. And I hit my knees every day and pray for acceptance and surrender, and for God to put the people in my life that He wants me to help on a day-to-day basis. So I was in treatment for about 6 months. When I got out of treatment, my husband and I made some healthy decisions because we had to make a list of healthy people that I needed to be around at that time. So we got an apartment that was near Whitfield because I felt safe. We didn't have any furniture. We lived very simply. I worked a minimum wage job because, oh, by the way, I was a really bad workaholic at that time in my life. And I had my Cocker Spaniel lady. I'm a dog mom. And so we had the three of us together, and that's what my life looked like for a year. I had to walk away from my mom. I had to walk away from family members because they were not healthy for me at the time. And so about a year later, during that time, we lived in an apartment near Whitfield. I went back to school to become a counselor because I really wanted to do what Sandy was doing, and I wanted to help people. So I went back to school to become a counselor. I worked at St. Dominic's North Campus for almost 10 years before I made a leap of faith. God has opened the door for me with everything that I've always needed, from a career path to a family need. And that's a pivotal role for me because I have to listen to Him. When He opens the door, I have to trust the process and walk through the door. And He gives me that firm foundation that I need to help others. And so my role has changed a little bit. I am the Chief Development Officer at Capstone Wellness, and I get the honor of being on the advisory board at the Center for Hope and Healing at Broadmoor. So I get to work with Dr. Preston Crow and our great staff members there when they have a client or someone in the community that needs to access care. I access care for a lot of people very quickly because we never want someone to go without the services they need. And again, that came from the firm foundation that I received at Whitfield that I carry over to today on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I wake up every morning, I pray, I meditate, and I ask God to do for me what I can't do for myself, and that's to help families in their greatest time of need. And I do that on a day-to-day basis, and it sets the tone for my day. I learned in the program, the 12-step fellowship program, that we can start our day over any day of the week. You can start it over in your car. If you're having a bad day, sometimes I'll be driving down 55 North or 55 South, and Lord have mercy, I go into road rage because of these people that are going 120 miles an hour, and I just have to stop and pause and breathe. So there's an acronym I want you to take away from me today is HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Again, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And when you feel those, if you get hungry, you go and eat. If you get angry, you need to talk to somebody about it. If you get lonely, you need to reach out and ask for help. And if you get tired, you need to rest. And that's certainly some things that we have heard Pastor Josh talk about in the last few weeks, especially as getting rest and being of service and things of that nature. But I had to break that point and really surrender and listen to what God was calling me to do. And so ever since I got out of treatment, I've just been serving. And just think about that for a minute. We all know someone who's struggling, whether they're struggling with an addiction, with alcoholism or drug dependency or prescription drugs, or they're struggling with like what I had happen to me with a horrific big T trauma. We call them big T traumas. And for me, that was being brutally attacked at a gas station. That's not the only thing that has ever happened to me in my life. I broke my neck as a child when I was on a horse. I grew up, I could ride a horse before I could walk. And I showed competitively. I started scuba diving when I was 11. I have fallen off a rock cliff in Colorado. I have died in the ocean scuba diving. And God has purpose for me. I've been able to live through all those medical traumas to be able to do what I do on a day-to-day basis. Recovery has brought me to the point where I have restoration and I have purpose. And those are huge things to me. Do I wake up every day and know what the day is going to bring? No. Every day is different for me. And that's what I love about working in mental health and addiction, because every day is different. Every person that comes in our life is struggling. You just have to ask the right questions. What makes this make sense? Why is this person going through this? There's a couple of scriptures that I love that I have used before in Whitfield. I was really in the Word at that time, and I still am. But these are verses that have really helped me. James 4:10, humble yourselves before the Lord, and He will lift you. The other is Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And then 2 Corinthians 5:17, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. And that's what I want you to take away from what I'm saying today. If you are a person that is sick, that is struggling, and you don't know what step to take next, reach out to us here at the church. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Preston. You can reach out to Josh. Any member of our staff truly stands ready to help you when you're struggling. We're there for the good times. We're there for the bad times. A couple of weeks ago, God puts me down when He wants me to rest. I don't know if anybody else has had that happen to them in their life. And I was projectile vomiting, and I had to go to the hospital. And I was put in the hospital for 6 days with pancreatitis. And it put me down, and God wanted me to rest. But, the first people that I reach out to when something like that happens to me is my church family, because I want people to immediately start praying for me and to help me get through this. And so that's what we do as a church family. We circle up, we round up, and we're there for you. So if I am a person who can get clean and sober, I know you are. And we are here to help you in your greatest time of need. And I'm just honored to be asked to do this, because this is something that I'm very passionate about. But again, I just want to recap kind of what we're doing, because I want you to know that you can be the bright light in someone's life. If you don't have a light to shine, let us help you shine your bright light for those that need it. And I want to shine my light on people like me that are in recovery, that are sick and suffering and struggling. We never want anybody to suffer in silence. That is the greatest. I said the devil's working overtime when he wants you not to talk about what's going on in your life. And the stigma, Josh has been talking about the stigma. Lord have mercy. I hate the stigma addiction, because I'm also a type 2 diabetic. I also have other medical issues. And, there's no stigma attached to those, but stigma with mental health and addiction, we're trying to break that stigma. So if my story can help someone get into recovery, get into hope, get into healing, then I've done what I'm supposed to do. And, here's what I will tell you about my own recovery. I'm very active in the recovery community. I go to meetings, I sponsor ladies, and I also have a sponsor. I do what I'm supposed to do because that is the program that I have grown up with the fellowship of the 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the good thing is we also have Celebrate Recovery. We have a lot of Christian meetings that we can also facilitate and do things like that for you because it works if you work it. And here's what I want to challenge you with. Don't let your fear or your disease of addiction that's cunning, baffling, and powerful stop you from getting the help that you need, because you are worthy of God's love and you are worthy of the help that you're going to receive. And so if we can help you, just reach out.